Why don't Bible characters ever play chess? Well, because Solomon said, knight to b5, and it took 3 years to move. Welcome one and all to an enchanting journey through the sacred pages of the Bible. Today, we find ourselves delving deep into the heart of the New Testament, setting our sights on the profound wisdom encapsulated in James chapter 3. You might be asking yourself, why James chapter 3? A fair question indeed. James chapter 3, my dear friends, is not just another chapter in the biblical narrative. It's a treasure trove of wisdom, a beacon of light guiding us through the maze of life's trials and tribulations. It's a mirror reflecting the power and potential of the human tongue, both a weapon of destruction and a tool of blessing. This chapter, written by James, the brother of Jesus, is a timeless piece of wisdom literature. It addresses the power of the tongue, the paradox of blessing and cursing, and the wisdom that comes from above. It's a chapter that has resonated with millions over centuries and will continue to do so for aeons to come. The relevance of James chapter 3 to our daily lives cannot be overstated. It's a guiding compass, helping us navigate the tumultuous seas of our words and actions. It reminds us to be mindful of our speech, to tame our tongue, and to seek wisdom that is pure, peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. But don't just take our word for it. Join us as we unpack the verses, explore the themes, and draw out the lessons that this chapter has to offer. Whether you're a seasoned Bible enthusiast or a curious newcomer, there's something for everyone in the timeless wisdom of James chapter 3. Now, let's dive into the wisdom of James chapter 3. Are you ready to explore? Imagine if your tongue were a fire. Would it be a controlled bonfire or a wild forest fire? It's a provocative image, isn't it? Our words, like fire, have an immense capacity for either good or harm. They can provide warmth and light, or they can spread destruction and devastation. In the first 5 verses of James chapter 3, we find an insightful metaphor that compares the tongue to a small spark that can ignite a great forest fire. James, in his wisdom, understood the power that lies within our words. He knew that, although the tongue is a small organ, it boasts of great exploits. Just as a small rudder directs the path of a large ship, our tongues dictate the direction of our lives. We use it to express our thoughts, our feelings, and our intentions. It's our primary tool for communication, and with it, we have the power to shape our world. It's fascinating, isn't it? How something so small can have such a significant impact. Think about a spark. It's tiny, almost insignificant. Yet, given the right conditions, that one spark can set an entire forest ablaze. It can destroy habitats, change landscapes, and even alter the course of lives. That's the kind of power our tongues wield. With just a few words, we can either build up or tear down. We can inspire others, or we can discourage them. We can speak truth, or we can spread lies. We can create harmony, or we can sow discord. The choice is ours, and it's the choice we make every day, with every word we speak. But here's the challenge. Fire, as we all know, is notoriously hard to control. Once it starts, it can be difficult to contain, and the damage it causes can be irreversible. The same goes for our words. Once they're out there, we can't take them back. We can apologize, we can try to make amends, but the impact of our words remains. So, how do we ensure that our tongues, our words, are a controlled bonfire and not a wild forest fire? It starts with self-awareness. We need to recognize the power we hold and the responsibility that comes with it. We need to think before we speak, to weigh our words carefully, and to strive for truth and kindness in all our communications. In other words, we need to tame our tongues. It's not an easy task, but it's a worthwhile one. Because when we use our words wisely, we can bring light into the darkness, warmth into the cold, and hope into the despair. We can change lives, and we can change the world, one word at a time. Remember, a small spark can set an entire forest ablaze. So, how are you using your tongue? Have you ever tried to tame a wild animal? What about your tongue? Now, you might be wondering, how can a tongue be compared to a wild animal? Let's dive into verses 6 to 8 of James chapter 3 to find out. The text says, "The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil, among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell." It's a powerful imagery, isn't it? The tongue, such a small part of our body, compared to a raging fire, carrying the capacity for great destruction. This passage is not talking about the physical tongue, but rather the words that come out of our mouth. Just like a small spark can start a massive wildfire, a single word can cause immense harm. It can ruin relationships, start conflicts, and even lead to wars. It's no wonder the Bible says that our words have the power of life and death. The next verse continues, "All kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and sea creatures are being tamed and have been tamed by mankind, but no human being can tame the tongue." Isn't that interesting? Humans have tamed lions, elephants, and even sharks, but taming the tongue seems impossible. This doesn't mean that we should just give up and let our words run wild. No, it's quite the opposite. It's a call to be vigilant, to be aware of the power our words carry. It's a challenge to take responsibility for what we say. Think about a time when you struggled to control your words. Maybe you said something in anger, or let a secret slip, or perhaps you've used your words to manipulate or hurt others. We've all been there. We all have moments when we wish we could take back what we've said. But here's the thing. The tongue is not an unruly beast that acts on its own. It's controlled by our heart and mind. It's a mirror that reflects what's going on inside us. If our heart is filled with anger, bitterness, or jealousy, our words will reflect that. If our mind is filled with negative thoughts, our words will echo those thoughts. So, if we want to tame our tongue, we need to start with taming our heart and mind. We need to fill them with love, kindness, and positivity. We need to let go of the negativity, the anger, the bitterness. And when we do that, our words will naturally follow. Even though no human can tame the tongue, it's not a lost cause. There's hope, and we'll find it in the next verses. So, stay tuned. Let's explore this hope together. Let's learn how to tame not just our tongues, but our hearts and minds as well. Ever notice how the same mouth that says "I love you" can also say "I hate you"? Quite a paradox, isn't it? As we dive into verses 9 to 12 of James chapter 3, we'll find ourselves grappling with this very paradox. The paradox of blessing and cursing. Now, let's take a moment to imagine a world where our words only brought blessings. A world where every utterance from our lips nurtured, encouraged, and uplifted. That's the kind of world we all aspire to live in, right? But then, we find ourselves in a different reality. We find that our words can also hurt discourage, and tear down. That's the paradox we're talking about. In the book of James, the author draws our attention to this incongruity. He points out that with the same tongue, we bless our Lord and Father, and with it, we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. Now, isn't that a jarring contradiction? It's like using a knife to cut a birthday cake and then turn it around to stab someone. It's the same tool, but used for entirely different and contradictory purposes. James doesn't stop at pointing out the paradox. He goes on to give us an analogy. He compares the tongue to a spring, saying, "Does a spring pour forth from the same opening both fresh and salt water?" The obvious answer is, of course, no. Freshwater springs and saltwater springs are two distinct entities, each producing a different kind of water. But then, why do we allow our tongues to be like a faulty spring, spewing both blessings and curses? Why do we permit this inconsistency in our speech? It's as if we are disregarding the intrinsic power of our words, forgetting that our tongues can either be a fountain of life or a wellspring of destruction. The paradox of blessing and cursing is not just a philosophical or a theological conundrum. It's a practical issue that we all grapple with every day. It's about our words, our actions, and ultimately our character. It's about the kind of people we want to be and the kind of world we want to live in. As we ponder this paradox, let's remember that our words have power. They can build or break, heal or hurt, bless or curse. Let's strive to make our words a fountain of blessings, a wellspring of encouragement, and a source of life. Let's make our speech consistent, aligning our words with our beliefs, values, and aspirations. A spring can't produce both fresh and salt water, can it? Then why do we allow our tongues to bless and curse? As we wrap up this segment, let's carry this question in our hearts. Let it challenge us, inspire us, and guide us as we strive to use our words wisely and well. What's the difference between earthly wisdom and heavenly wisdom? It's not a joke, but the answer might surprise you. Let's dive into the heart of James chapter 3, specifically verses 13 to 18. Here, we find a vivid contrast drawn between earthly wisdom and heavenly wisdom. The two are not just different in source, but also in character and consequence. Earthly wisdom, as James describes, is driven by envy and selfish ambition. It is the kind of wisdom that is often celebrated in our world today. It's the drive to be the best, the smartest, the most successful. It's the wisdom that says, look at me, look at what I've achieved, look at how clever I am. But James warns us that such wisdom does not come down from heaven. Instead, it is earthly, unspiritual, even demonic. It breeds disorder and every evil practice. In stark contrast, heavenly wisdom, or wisdom from above, is first of all pure. It is untainted by selfish ambition or envy. It is wisdom that seeks not its own glory, but the glory of God. This wisdom is also peace-loving, considerate, and submissive. It is not about winning arguments or proving oneself right, but about building up others, promoting peace, and submitting to God's will. Furthermore, heavenly wisdom is full of mercy and good fruit. It is not judgmental or harsh, but merciful, forgiving, and kind. It results not in discord, but in good deeds done in humility. This wisdom is impartial and sincere. Now, you might be wondering, how do I seek this heavenly wisdom? James tells us that it comes from God. We can ask Him for it, and He will generously give it to us. But we must also be willing to embody the characteristics of this wisdom in our lives. It's not enough to simply know about it. We must also live it out. So, what kind of wisdom are you seeking? Is it the earthly wisdom that leads to disorder and evil practices? Or is it the heavenly wisdom that brings peace, mercy, and good fruit? Remember, the choice is yours. But choose wisely, for the type of wisdom we seek shapes not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us. As we close this scene, let's remind ourselves of what James tells us about heavenly wisdom. Remember, wisdom that comes from heaven is pure, peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial, and sincere. Let's strive to seek and embody this wisdom in our lives, for it is the path that leads to peace and righteousness. If James chapter 3 were a recipe, what ingredients would you need to follow it? This chapter, arguably one of the most powerful sections of the New Testament, serves as a practical guide for mastering our speech, understanding the paradox of blessing and cursing, and seeking wisdom from above. But how can we incorporate these teachings into our daily lives? Think of it as a 3-course meal. The first course is mastering our speech, or as the Bible puts it, taming the tongue. The tongue, though small, is mighty, and it can create or destroy, heal or hurt, build up or tear down. The challenge here is to be mindful of our words, to consider their impact before we let them out into the world. Remember, our words are a reflection of our hearts and minds. Therefore, let's make them count. Let's use them to encourage, to soothe, to express love and kindness. The second course is understanding the paradox of blessing and cursing. It's a simple concept, yet it's profound in its implications. James chapter 3 tells us that from the same mouth come blessing and cursing, and this should not be so. In other words, our words should be consistent. If we bless, let's bless consistently. If we curse, let's reconsider and correct our course. The challenge here is consistency and authenticity in our speech. The third and final course is seeking wisdom from above. Wisdom, as defined in James chapter 3, is pure, peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. It's the kind of wisdom that transcends human understanding, the kind that leads to peace and harmony. The challenge here is to seek this wisdom, to let it guide our actions and our words. Now let's not forget the secret sauce, application. The teachings of James chapter 3 are not meant to be read and forgotten. They are meant to be applied, to be lived. So, how can we live these teachings? How can we make them a part of our daily routine? It starts with mindfulness. Be mindful of your words, your actions, your thoughts. Practice kindness and love. Be consistent in your speech. Seek wisdom from above. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. It's about progress, not perfection. It's about striving to be better, to do better, to speak better. And finally, share your journey. Share your experiences, your successes, your challenges. Sharing is caring, after all. So, let's use the comments section as a platform for sharing, for learning, for growing together in wisdom and love. Let's strive to tame our tongues, to bless and not curse, and to seek wisdom from above. That's the essence of James chapter 3. So we've tamed the tongue, balanced blessings and curses, and sought heavenly wisdom. What's next? Well, let's take a moment to recap the key takeaways from our exploration of James chapter 3. We've discovered the power of the tongue, and how it can both bless and curse. We've learned that the tongue, though small, can be a mighty tool for good or for harm. It's like a rudder steering a ship, or a small spark that can ignite a great fire. The choice is ours to make. We also delved into the paradox of blessing and cursing. How can the same mouth that praises also curse? This is a paradox we must all grapple with in our daily lives. But remember, as we learned, consistency in our speech reflects consistency in our character. We then sought wisdom from above. Wisdom that is pure, peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, and good fruit. This divine wisdom helps us to tame our tongues and use our words wisely. It allows us to navigate the complexities of life with grace and compassion. Lastly, we explored practical ways to apply the teachings of James chapter 3 in our day-to-day lives, from being slow to speak and quick to listen to fostering peace and understanding in our interactions. We've learned that these biblical principles are timeless and universally applicable. Now, we invite you to continue exploring the wisdom of the Bible with us. There's so much more to uncover and learn. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It helps us reach more people and spread these valuable lessons. And if you haven't already, do subscribe to our channel. We have a lot more content coming your way that you won't want to miss. Share this video with your friends, family, and anyone you think might benefit from this message. Thank you for joining us on this journey through James chapter 3. Remember, your words have power, so choose them wisely. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share the videos, and thanks again for watching.